So, again, this is what you're going to have to know to pass the chapter quiz. What is a perfectly competitive market? You're going to have to be able to define that. You're going to have to be able to define marginal revenue and relate it to total and average revenue. You're going to have to tell me how a competitive firm maximizes profits. What decisions does it have to make? What does a graph look like that shows profit maximization of a competitive firm in a perfectly competitive market? When might that firm shut down in the short run, and at what point would it reopen in the long run? And what's the supply curve in a perfectly competitive market look like in both the short and the long run? So as you can tell, there's a lot of meat in this chapter. Yes? Much to gnaw on. Mucho carne. Okay. So 3 years after graduation, so for you seniors, 7 years from now, you've started your own business. You have to decide how much of whatever it is you're producing to produce, what price to charge for it, how many workers you need, etc. So the question is, what factors should affect those decisions? We know there's a lot of factors that will affect them, but which ones economically should actually be factoring into your decision-making process? Your costs, definitely, what we spent all last chapter talking about. You should look at the market and how many competitors are out there. In order to do that, you have to assume that you are in a perfectly competitive market. And in order to make that assumption, you need to know what the heck a perfectly competitive market is. Yes? Yes. All right. A perfectly competitive market has many buyers and sellers. The goods that are available in a perfectly competitive market are, for the most part, the same. Think, for instance, the market for blue jeans. Are there many buyers and sellers? Yes. Are the goods, for the most part, pretty much the same? They cover your hiney, they fasten around the waist, they cover your legs. And they tend to be blue and denim. Yes? Let's leave the skinny-legged hipster bright yellow jeans out of it for now. All right. Firms can freely enter or exit the market.
What would be an example of one that couldn't freely enter or exit?
How about the market for pharmaceuticals? You can theoretically freely enter and exit, but there's a lot of regulations. You have to pass a lot of government inspections, and the cost of entering is huge. Space exploration would be another one.
Anything that takes a lot of college, basically.
You know, I built a rocket once in 6th grade. Done. All right. Vocabulary word, price taker, means you take the price that's out there. So because there are many buyers and sellers and the goods are mostly the same, you have to assume that each buyer and seller is a price taker. Blue jeans are $50, okay. Blue jeans are $40, okay. Blue jeans are $60, okay. You're a price taker. You simply can't fight the numbers and the homogeneity of the goods. where do competitive firms make their monies? Well, we already know total revenue, right? Price times quantity. Ooh, I'm about to math you. Average revenue. Da, da, da. Total revenue over quantity gives you price. And price is the same as average revenue. So it's average revenue per item. What? You didn't do average revenue. Now, marginal revenue is the change in total revenue from selling one more unit. Okay? This marginal concept, marginal tax rate, now marginal revenue, it's the change that results from selling one more. So it's the change in total revenue over the change in quantity. Now, you can't say that the change in quantity is always going to be 1, because what if I thought I'd sell 1 and I sold 10 more? Okay? You got to divide by whatever the change in quantity is. And now, boys and girls, since I've given you formulas, guess what it's time to do? Practice time.
Acquire knowledge.
Would you say acquire knowledge?
Apply our knowledge.
Oh, yes. Yes, get those brain cells ready to sweat. It's mental aerobics.
How do you rank calories?
When you study, it's mental yoga. When you practice, it's mental aerobics. All right. So, total revenue equals price times quantity. So what is our total revenue here in this first line? 0.
10, 20, 30, 40, 50.
Yay! So good. All right. Average revenue is total revenue divided by the quantity. So 20 divided by 30 divided by not necessarily. It depends on whether or not your price is fixed. If your price isn't fixed, then the average revenue would change. Think about places where you get a discount for buying in quantity. Like some websites, you know, you buy 0 to 2, or you buy 1 or 2 and you pay this price, and if you buy 3 to 6, you can pay this price, right? Okay, so here, marginal revenue, change in total revenue over change in quantity. So the change in total revenue here is divided by, so marginal revenue here is, change in total revenue is, change in quantity is, change in total revenue. So your marginal revenue for every price and every quantity is? Whoa!
Don't do that.
I'm gonna go back and listen to the lecture.
I didn't want I didn't want to give you the inception wah.
Is this true in all situations?
No, if P fluctuates.
It is if your firm is competitive. If your firm is competitive. So a firm that is competitive can continue to increase its output without affecting price. A competitive firm can increase its output without having to raise price. So for a competitive firm, every time you increase your Q, your revenue should go up by P. So marginal revenue in a competitive firm should always equal P. I could have just told you that, but we went through the chart so that you would know why. Chriselle, fascinating lap.
Yeah, I was just looking at my parents.
He was examining those perfectly competitive blue jeans.
No, that's what parents are.
Uh-huh. Chuck, is that a hand? One that doesn't stay in business a whole long time. An example of a firm that is not competitive. Almost every firm at a certain point ceases to become competitive once it passes its that hook in its graph.
Hey, Monopoly, is that one? Like it's a deal of Monopoly.
Because can't they just raise their prices and
No one can do anything about it.
Well, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're not competitive if you're a monopoly.
I mean,
there's no
like
competition?
if you're,
There's
yeah.
only one seller.
There's competition.
They can raise their prices.
Oh yeah, OPPD, MUD.
What about like the post office?
How about Cox Cable? Oh, the post office, definitely.
There's
One,
UPS and FedEx.
but is there really any difference between the good or the price?
No.
Are you saying they're all the same?
No, it's bad word.
Ish.
Bad works for you.
DirecTV isn't because you don't necessarily always get local channels.
Offend me.
But we're going to discuss that, Chuck. All right. Marginal revenue equal price is only true if you're in a competitive market.
There's always a catch.
Well, I revealed that catch at the beginning. You have to be competitive. Your firm has to be competitive, and the market has to be competitive. Now, we know that firms always want to do what? This is a question straight off your last quiz. They always want to... No, not because they're greedy, but because they want to profit their owners, be it a private owner or the shareholders. Okay, so the question is, what quantity maximizes a firm's profit? To find the answer, think at the margin. The margin. If you increase the quantity by 1 unit, your costs are going up by marginal cost by MC, and your revenue goes up by MR. So if marginal revenue exceeds marginal cost, then go ahead and increase what you're producing to continue raising your profit. But at the point at which marginal revenue is less than marginal cost, stop making more. Think about this in practical terms. The credit recovery for your WAD quiz. If you walked out of here knowing, Ethan, that you missed 14 WADs, Ethan knows he missed 14, and I give you credit recovery, half point for each one you do, how many should Ethan have done? Should he have done 14? He would get 7 points back. Should he have done 15? He should do 28 because he's going to get 14 points back. Why not do 29?
I thought because then you only get that one.
Because his revenue at 29 is 0 and his cost is 3 minutes. Right?
Wait, did people get hundreds from doing a pizza?
Could.
No, but you only got halfway back for the ones you missed. You did.
I could not fathom doing that. All right. So, what's our profit at 0 quantity? Should be -5, right? It costs me to have that factory sit there even if I'm not actually using it. Okay? I gotta heat it so the pipes don't freeze. I still have to pay taxes on it. Can't go ahead and have the electricity shut off. You know, all of that stuff costs you. Profit at quantity 1. Profit at quantity 2. 3. 4. 5.
You should stop at 4 because that's good stuff.
So the marginal cost, how do we get marginal cost? Change in total cost divided by change in quantity. Follow? What? We want the point at which they're equal and where marginal cost does not exceed marginal revenue. So what's our profit maximizing quantity? 4. So you want to get where your change in profit is nil. As long as your profit's still going up, you have to examine making more. The point at which profit stops going up, you're done. Don't pay the accountant to figure out the next increase. Got it? Good? Ah, the graph.
Yes.
Marginal cost. Swing. Straight up from the origin at a 1-to-1 slope. Where's marginal revenue going to look like? It's going to be a straight line horizontal to the x-axis at the price. So pick a quantity, and at that quantity, marginal cost is less than marginal revenue, right? If we increase the quantity, we're going to increase the profit. Oops. At quantity B, marginal cost exceeds marginal revenue, and so we are losing money. So we reduce quantity to raise our profit until we get to that sweet spot where marginal cost equals marginal revenue. Yay! Yay! Oh yeah, they have to actually do this.
Is that what computers are for?
Yes?
Why wouldn't they go a little bit to like the left so they could make more, like without doing as much?
If you go to the left of this profit maximizing quantity, you're leaving money on the table. You're leaving unrealized profit.
Okay.
Right.
Like on the other page, why don't you just make 3 if you're just going to make $0 on the fourth one?
Yeah.
Because if you, okay, so thinking about that graph where you had 3 and 4 and there was 0, that was 0 additional profit. You were still making profit, you just weren't making more money on that fourth one. The fourth one made you as much profit as the third one did. So that, again, is Sherman's question. You would be just there left of that point. And why would you leave that money on the table? Or, in a perfectly competitive market, you would be leaving that money to a competitor. Okay. So if you are at this profit maximizing quantity and you change that quantity, you lose money. Period. Here's your rule. Marginal cost and marginal revenue are equal at the profit maximizing quantity. And your goal as a firm is always going to be to find that profit maximizing quantity. Somebody kick Herndon. poke Dashby. Oh, he is awake. Oh, okay. All right. My bad. My bad.
Just because you want to be sleeping doesn't mean we're all sleeping. Yeah, wish we're all sleeping.
Yeah, trust me, we're sleeping.
Well, that's because you're swimmers. You chose that life.
Swim life didn't choose them.
I'm all about that.
Okay. Now let's say the price goes up. Woo! Guess what? Price goes up. What should we do? We should increase the quantity produced to the new profit maximizing quantity. Yay, more money, more money.
Yeah, that's my life.
So, if I were to ask you, what determines the profit maximizing quantity for any given firm in a competitive market? Your answer is marginal cost. Marginal cost determines what quantity should be produced, because the price is given. Keep in mind here, the firms are not choosing the price they're selling at. Remember, firms don't choose the price they sell at. They are price takers. The market has set the price. So what is determinant for them is the marginal cost curve.
Unless you create your own product that's new.
Then you're not in a perfectly competitive market if you create a new product. Sherman.
So you know how you talk about they're like the price takers
Yes.
or whatever. How do they know? Like how do
Economists.
economists analyze the market price?
Well, the market price is. How do you analyze it? Go shopping.
Well, like, can you like go on Google and look up the market price? The market price of.
Go to Google Marketplace and type in blue jeans, and you'll figure out the market price pretty quickly.
Really?
So when you go to Gordon's, you should buy.
So if you go to Gordman's, don't just go to Gordman's and buy. Go to Gordman's and go to Penny's and go to Kohl's and figure out who is closest to the market price and buy there. So that's why you Google Marketplace it first and then go buy. Or if they've got free shipping, click. Which is why they want to tax sales on the internet, because more and more people are doing that, and you're costing governments money in sales tax.
The governments, did they do that? Did they do that to something?
So look, marginal cost is supply. What?
Stop.
That's sick.
We can just stop right now.
That's how they make
My life is complete now. I have seen the curve, and the curve is marginal cost.
Are you on drugs?
Praise the Federal Reserve. All right. So now that we know that, when do we shut down our firm?
Never.
You never give up.
A shutdown is a short-run decision. It's a short-term decision to shut down because market conditions have changed. Sometimes a shutdown will evolve into an exit in the long run. Matthias's lawn mowing company that we've dealt with all year long, right?
It's hard times right now.
Matthias, it is December 8th, the day after Pearl Harbor Day, by the way, in Nebraska. Are you running your business on a daily basis?
Depends, can I move?
No, Matthias, you are here in Nebraska. You're in Papillion and La Vista, Nebraska. It's December 8th.
I'm not running that business.
So your business right now is in a shutdown because of market conditions. And the predominant market condition affecting Matthias's shutdown is the grass ain't growing. It don't need mowing.
What did you drink of this?
Right? Now, there's Matthias's answer. He just said, I'm just going to get a snowblower. Guess what? It ain't snowing. You ain't blowing. And so your business remains in a shutdown. Now the question is, when does Matthias make the decision to exit that market? When we are in the 5th year of a drought and the cities are limiting water usage, and so the grass ain't growing and it don't need mowing, and that drought also prevents the snow from falling. And so Matthias at that point is going to change from a shutdown to an exit. The big difference in a shutdown, Matthias still has to deal with his fixed costs. He surely has an insurance policy covering his equipment. If he is renting a garage space or something to store that in, he's got that fixed cost that goes on. He's going to have to buy stable to put in those gas tanks to prevent the loss of the investment in the gas that's in them. So those fixed costs stay with you when you're in a shutdown. But if he just exits the market, he can sell those pieces of, what do we call that equipment?
Capital.
Those pieces of capital, and he can eliminate the rent by breaking his lease and eliminate the fixed costs. So, there's economics involved in Matthias's decision to shut down. Can you guess? Might have something to do with marginal revenue and marginal cost. Okay. The cost of shutting down is going to be how much revenue Matthias loses. That's going to be his total revenue. Okay? He's going to give up revenue if he shuts down. He's going to save costs, variable costs, because he's still stuck with the fixed costs. He can't eliminate the rent, he can't eliminate the insurance, but he doesn't have to pay employees. He doesn't have to pay his labor costs. So if Matthias shuts down, his total revenues got to be less than his variable cost in order for him to shut down. So if you're looking at the balance sheets and your variable costs are exceeding your total revenues, that means money is flowing out of your business. You are operating accounting students at a loss or in the red. You need to shut down. Divide both sides by your quantity. Total revenue divided by quantity, variable cost divided by quantity. And if your price is less than your average variable cost, you have to shut down. Guys, when I look at the depth of what we're doing, and remember this is my first time through this as well, when I look at the depth of what we're doing and the graph that's on this next slide, I marvel at how much you guys have learned over the course of this semester and how much you struggled with those very first chapters, even what seems really, really simple now, the supply and demand stuff.
I hope we did on my macro again.
When we look at this next slide, think back to how overwhelmed you were at the beginning of the semester and give yourselves a pat on the back, because I am really impressed that there are still 30 of you who have stuck it out. I did not expect that. I'm proud of you guys. I mean, look at that. Look at that. Had I showed you that in the first week of class, you would have cried. Ethan's mom did write me a note saying he was crying himself to sleep and could I please lighten up, and I said it'd make a man out of him, and look at that. Yeah, he sang the Mulan song. All right. So, if price is greater than the average variable cost at the point at which marginal cost is greater than average variable cost, the firm should produce. Okay. If you're down here, you should be shutting down.
That's kind of where I'm feeling.
Okay. Now, I want you to think back to those Khan Academy videos, and I know they irritated some of you, but think about the difference in shape of these curves that your text author is giving you and the shape that the Khan Academy had. They had more of a check mark shape, and that bend happens at the marginal cost. That's actually a little more real world. Okay. Yeah, this is massive numbers. In the real world, it's much more check marky. Okay. All right. So, if we're down here, if price is down here below that intersection of average variable cost and marginal cost, you need to shut down. You are bleeding money. So, that is your supply curve. That red line is your short run supply curve. Yeah. It's weird, but it is exactly what you should supply. And now you know why. Now, is it absolutely necessary to draw these parts here below the AVC? No. You can just start here and draw. You don't have to put this stuff in, because are you actually going to do that? No, you're not. Okay. Sunk costs. Sunk costs. And why they don't matter. A sunk cost is money that you've already spent and you're never getting it back. It is, quite literally, sunk. It is at the bottom of the Marianas Trench, sunk. You're never getting that money back. Regardless of what you decide to do. So should sunk costs matter in your decision making? Absolutely not. You can't do anything about them. You're not getting it back.
What if one decision has more sunk costs than the other?
Like, what do you get?
All right. So what if one decision has more sunk costs than the other? Connor, you have a car? What is it? A 93 Crown Vic. That sucker is 11 years old. Yes? No, I'm sorry, 21 years old. All right. So Connor, it's driving great. It's working for you. It's a car. It's paid for. Not costing you a ton of money. the fuel pump and the water pump both go out. You make the decision that $600 in repair costs is a better decision for you right now than assuming a car payment. So you pay that $600. Next month, the transmission dies.
Oh, good God.
That $600 sunk cost. You can't think to yourself, I just paid $600, I gotta pay the transmission. You gotta figure out, past is past.